so you all are aware. But still, I would very much like questions in the lecture. Even more important to have questions in this lecture, because then things you are questioning, that will be something other students also are interested in. So that would be nice to have to share in the upload I will do afterwards. Welcome everybody. My name is Thomas Laudon. I'm an associate professor at the UIS Business School. I'm in the group which is the lead partner in this Erasmus project, which is behind this course. And we are very thrilled to have you on board. And we have tried to make this a hybrid MOOC to make it both some live events and some of them only for online events also. So this is one of the few live lectures we have planned. I will try to keep this lecture in 1 hour. If you have questions at the end, we can prolong the event to finish the questions. So let me share my screen, and you will see the slides which I have here. So here. Are these slides visible, nice for all? Farin, could you help me there? Is slides?
Yes, they are clear.
They are clear?
Yeah, very
That's
clear,
good.
yes.
That's good. So this is the content list for the lecture, or the lecture notes also. So we start with not all of these in detail, especially not the questionnaires. We will not go into them, of course, because that's part of your work in this module. But I will describe them and present them a bit. See if I could, like this. This is the third slide, which is not something I will present now either, because this is the soundbite, which is for you to listen to. I think it's a nice way of presenting the theme of this topic. It is based on ChatGPT 5.2, which has been fed with information on this topic, and it's made a nice kind of a conversation, I think it is, to just discuss a little bit around the issues. So, and it ends with a discussion about if there is such a thing as waste. Maybe we will eliminate waste. That's an interesting topic, I think. So this is the real start. And I would say that the earlier modules in this course emphasize different issues to improve your understanding of industrial symbiosis and the supply chain collaboration. But in this module, we would like you to consider challenges that companies face of practical nature when they consider engaging in symbiotic transactions, covering leftover products. It would be what they before considered as waste, or it could be residuals from the production process, or it could be excess energy in the form of emissions of gas or water, many sorts. So the objective of Module 4 is to allow you to get some experience as if you were responsible for the implementation of industrial symbiosis in a particular business, in a particular industry. You are to imagine that you are the CEO of a manufacturing company, where you have large expenses covering electricity, raw materials, and transport services. At the same time, your company produces greenhouse gas emissions, waste, and spill water. And then the question arises, can industrial symbiosis contribute to a reduction in our costs and expand our revenue resources? So it's both a cost minimizing project, the industrial symbiosis, but it also is an effort to extend the revenue sources for each company. And both of them are, of course, economic incentives for working on industrial symbiosis. So to answer this question, you first need to come to grips with what kinds of industrial symbiosis are available to you. What categories of industrial symbiosis are there? You should start with an overview of the main categories or kinds of industrial symbiosis which is already implemented. So if we look at 4 industrial symbiosis category choices based on literature, and by the way, we have some main literature linked to this lecture, which is included in the bottom part of the lecture notes, but I will not spend any time referring to those. But first, we look at these 4 category pairs which exist. We can assume that industrial symbiosis may have 2 motivations, or we might say fulfill 2 purposes. Number 1 is to better utilize the leftovers. That means utilizing leftovers, residue of waste, and exchange of firm-specific leftover energy, water, or products to substitute delivery from third parties. So you substitute virgin products with a reuse option for products. That's one motivation. The second motivation, or first influence, you might say, is to exploit available infrastructure. Utilizing available capacity for the infrastructure, sharing excess goods, liquids, or gases as an input option or as a waste treatment option, or by capturing emissions. So that is we could see that in many industrial symbiosis cases that they have this spare capacity in the infrastructure, which is the driving force. But in real life, this is of course not mutually exclusive, but it is even quite true that all industrial symbiosis has some elements of both of these motivations. You need some kind of leftovers and some sort of available infrastructure or transport to implement industrial symbiosis. IS, or industrial symbiosis, may also be developed and expanded organically within a geographical region, or it may be developed and expanded by the dissemination of an app linked to an electronic platform. We have several examples of this in the literature also to this lecture. The organically developed industrial symbiosis in a geographical region will normally also be supported by an app. But the difference between these categories is in the main driver. Industrial symbiosis is mainly developed over time in uniquely exchanges between businesses in a geographical region. Or it is planned and launched by a platform service where new entrants can join with no need to be co-located within a region. The third category we could look at, which distinguishes between different kinds of industrial symbiosis, is maybe the result of several autonomous, or IS can be the result of several autonomous companies seeking options for symbiotic exchanges and developing partnerships with increasing degrees of integration. This may be referred to as a bottom-up development. But symbiotic exchanges with an uptake of waste may also be the result of one company specializing in this process, which demands the supply of waste or leftovers from other companies. This is a top-down development of industrial symbiosis. The examples of data centers, for example, in Norway at least, that is very much examples of top-down development of industrial symbiosis, because you establish a processing unit which has a lot of spill water, and you need already in the start to take care of that. So it's easy to see what is the creator, what is directing the efforts for industrial symbiosis in that way. Finally, we have industrial symbiosis maybe within a conglomerate or within a large processing plant, and thereby covering internal utilization of waste or leftovers. But it is most common that industrial symbiosis is between companies, looking for partnerships among autonomous units. But we have an example in Norway, in the south of Norway, in a village called Kristiansand, or it's close to Lindesnes, where a large company has understood that they are able to feed itself by something which they believed was emissions of some chemicals from one part of the plant that was be able to be used in another part of the plant. So there's many examples of internal symbiotic relationships or exchanges also. Okay, you can see all these four variables in this illustration. So that's summarizing what we have been talking about here. We may also add that in addition, we can distinguish industrial symbiosis from supply chain management and from barter trade, according to chart of 2007. Industrial symbiosis is not restricted to barter, because when you have waste of a leftover product, you may both sell it, which maybe will be a little bit less symbiotic characteristically, but you may also then exchange it with some other resource controlled by the other partner. So it is not limited to a system where you only exchange goods. It may also be prices involved, compensations by monetizing that. So, and I just, if you have any questions, I would like you, we are very few here, I think 13, 14 people. If you take off your microphone and say, excuse me, or whatever, and ask a question, I would be happy for you to do it. And we will take it at the end also, but if you have some questions, you just make sure that you can interrupt me. That would be nice, I think. Okay. The fees for the disposal of waste may vary between countries and between different materials also, of course. Such prices are normally set by regulations. This shows that regulations influence how companies' waste is handled. If the price for disposal of waste increases or is already high, many companies would be looking for options for monetizing their waste products. There is typically also regulations demanding that companies map their waste and their leftovers, report their volumes, and to seek opportunities for waste incineration or refurbishment or recycling. Thus, regulations will often be one of the drivers of industrial symbiosis. We find regulations influence industrial symbiosis both at the national level and at the European level. At the European level, the regulations most relevant for the transition to a circular supply chain is the regulation for eco-design requirements for sustainable products. It's called ESRP. The Digital Product Passport, DPP, is part of this regulation, where a phased implementation is planned, starting with iron and steel, then batteries, products with manganetes, detergents, textiles, construction materials, furniture, and mattresses. And at the end, toys and cement are the two last goods which are supposed to be included in this. What this is about, the DPP, the Digital Product Passport, is to label every piece of good at 3 levels, at the exact product, the product category, or the batch of products which is transported, and then the category in a nice nomenclature. And these information, which is linked at 3 levels, is describing exactly how the ingredients making the product were recycled or not. And it also describes the possibility of recycling the product further down in the value chain. So this is a data base which is perfect for mapping the incidence of industrial symbiosis or recycling of products, reuse of the products in our economy. That's why that is so interesting. I encourage you to link to and read the European Commission, how that presents digital product passes here. Then when you're at this stage in the lecture, you are ready for the first exercise. The first of two external questionnaires you are to answer in this topic. So the first is this. It is that you are to consider your local renovation facility. The facility of renovation which you remember from your upbringing or where you live now, or just some renovation facility which you are familiar with. And you're basically addressing three issues in the questionnaire, which you link to with the link down here, or you could use even your phone and use its QR. And there you answer a questionnaire which has three main issues. One is what kind of recycling is this renovation facility up to? And number two, how would you place the elements of industrial symbiosis involved according to the four categories we have just been looking at? And the number three question is what relevant regulation is mentioned on their website? Is it only national legislation? Is it European legislation? We don't demand that you are studying this and discovering what is the regulation, but we just want you to be aware of how they describe their legislation. Based on some website of the municipality, of the most common, I think, the region, or maybe kind of a state website, depending on the renovation facility you are, facility you are aware of. So, do you have any questions now regarding the questionnaire, which is part of this? It's an external questionnaire, not part of the MOOC, which is evaluated besides the normal valuation of the more gamification, which is part of the MOOC. So this is one of two, which is part of this topic. And this is, I think, something which is particular for this module and this topic. You don't find this in other areas of the course. If you have any questions for that, you tell me now. Okay. Yes, please.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In order to answer these questionnaires, I have found one link or factory, renovation factory.
Yep.
In Norway.
It's not, well, it's in, I don't know if it's in Norway, it's in the cloud somewhere. Yeah, but you use the link here or the QR. Yeah.
So yeah, this link is the questionnaires link.
Yep, it is.
And we're gonna find something relevant, like a factory that processes waste products in Norway. Yeah.
No, not in Norway, but it's the facility you would like to write about. You could really choose from the whole world, but it would maybe it's best to have something in Europe, because there the legislation and the expectations of recycling is a little bit higher than in other parts of the world, but that's not for sure either. But the main emphasis is that it should be familiar to you, and it should, of course, have also some website which tells us something about it.
Okay.
Because you're not supposed to study it yourself. You're just about to, you should give us the information you find on the website and try to process it according to the categories we have just been mentioning.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Other questions? You might ask something later also, if it's no problem. Okay. Then we go further to the next issue, which is how we look at the constraints and the resources linked to a execution of industrial symbiosis. When you consider entering into a symbiotic exchange with a business partner, we look at the necessary capacities and the resources to exploit the benefits of symbiotic exchanges with other businesses. When ensuring the capacity for industrial symbiosis in a particular field, these are the critical points. The preliminary cost assessment, we may distinguish between costs involved in preparing and processing byproducts. You have to treat the byproducts not as easily as you treated waste, because if you had some waste, it was just to throw it away. this time maybe you have to package it, you have to cluster it in some way to make it prepared for reception from one of your second-hand, one of your buyers of second-hand products from you. So it may cost a little bit more to treat that formerly waste, now product. The price volatility may be larger for all these these second-hand products, because it's not an easy linear system where you have one producer and one customer. You have different customers and you have different seasons. You have customers who will relieve you from a cost and maybe give you a revenue instead. But the prices will vary, both depending on their quality, but also on the timing and maybe also the quantities of your second-hand products. So this is a cost which is measured in risks, really. And lastly, it's also possible to say that the dependencies of buyers of secondary products may restrict your freedom to innovate your primary product and primary production process. Because if you, for example, try to, let's say that you have a primary product which you want to innovate, and you make it, you want to end the plastic reliance, you would like to make it based on wood. That's good for you in this primary product, but maybe that will not allow you to receive all the revenues which you have from the buyer of your leftover product, because that buyer wanted used plastic or residue plastic from a production process. So it will be lots of dependencies which make it more complicated to innovate your primary product and primary process. So this is something which might maybe complicate it a little bit in different degrees, of course, different industries. We also have knowledge resources. One needs knowledge of alternative treatments and value chains of leftovers, residuals, waste, including relevant regulations. So you need a wider degree of knowledge of relevancies from your products than you needed before. Industrial symbiosis may also require extensive cross-disciplinary knowledge. So it's really just a variant of the first. A third-party facilitator may then be deemed necessary to be a consultant to try to help you to make this transition to a more to exploit your symbiotic exchanges more than you had before. An example in Norway is that the new data centers typically in Norway rely on greenhouses for utilizing excessive water for heating, because they have lots of excess water, and this is heated. It's not very high, but it's a low heated energy water, which is possible for others to utilize. So when they, in most cases I've heard about in Norway, because we have a lot of hydropower, the planning of data centers is done in parallel with a connection to a greenhouse or something similar, which is able to utilize the excess heat water, because you need water to cool down the data processing in data centers. So to be more specific about knowledge resources, we may list 6 areas which should be considered before one enters into a symbiotic exchanges. These are the 6 areas which we try to list them all based on literature in this, and we have chosen just one, which is the European Economics Report, chapter 4, which we have a link to down under. And maybe I just would like to have one comment here, and that's the scalability point. Because the scalability is, when you think about the wider area of knowledge, of competences, cross-disciplinary competences, that is really a problem for small companies. So the question may be posed that SMEs may have a disadvantage with regard to industrial symbiosis. So will industrial symbiosis, if that is a trend, not only for short time, but for a trend which is more codified in law more and more, will this represent something which will aggregate the economies of scale for businesses and consolidate businesses even more than today? That's an open question. This is something I think many of us should look into. Okay, here, forecasting demand related to industrial symbiosis is the next point here. So module 2 introduced life cycle assessments, and now we take a second look at that, because it's no doubt that industrial symbiosis prolongs the lifetime of the residuals. That's one of the main objectives of industrial symbiosis. So to predict the potential and the implications for our business, we need life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment may be developed in 3 phases. As a goal and scope definition, we need to be some cutoff to determine what to include. And then you have some assumptions of environmental impact and expected lifetimes of the main categories of goods involved. The second phase may be the life cycle inventory analysis, where you look at the ingoing resources and compare that with the outgoing resources and the lifetime expectancy and the net development you get when you analyze these. And the third phase is the environmental impact assessment. The impact on the environment, climate, and biodiversity is assessed based on the lifetime of the products. It could be lifetime within your own management of the product, but also the lifetime, extended lifetime, many times, of the product after it's out of your control. So we do not expect you to calculate some life cost assessment numbers in these in this course, at least not in this module. But we expect you to identify where it is a need for life cycle assessment and where it is useful. Then the net present value calculations are used for investment decisions normally. We know that, but in industrial symbiosis cases, this may not be fully adequate, just to use that, because the investment may introduce dependencies, which I mentioned earlier, linked to new buyers of leftover products, which creates constraints linked to the changes you want for your primary product or production process. So a net present value calculation will not be able to capture the changes in innovation environments if you engage in industrial symbiosis. If you link up to more interdependencies between buyers of second-hand products of yours and your primary product, you will have a much less flexible innovation system. And that will have economic consequences in the dynamics of how you develop your product. And so just to in most cases, the use only of a net present value calculation to look at the profitability of your investment will not be adequate to give you the answer you would like to have. At this point, in this slide, when this slide is understood, we are ready for the second and last exercise of what we do here. So this is at a juncture where you first need to choose the case you want to base your answers on, because what the second and last questionnaire is about is questions which is linked to one of these cases of your choice. And if you look at these 3 cases, we see that the 2 first cases are to be based on published information provided to you, while the third case is to be based on the information you find when using the provided links. So the Circuland case in England is to be based on their information on their websites, which you see website 1, 2, and the Google News and whatever you find which is more or less interesting, which is current information on them. So this might be some more inspiring to do maybe because it is a living case in a way. The other two, 1 or 2, they are based on the published information and you need not go beyond what we have given you there. So that should be sufficient to have an easy pass on this. It's up to you to choose what you would like to base your questionnaire on. So the Humber region case and Karlberg case is based on a collaboration in a region. If we refer to the second category pair, which we referred to in the first part of this, while the Circuland is based on exchanges arranged through a platform service. So they are the number 3 is quite different compared to the first 2. So after you have selected the case, you are to answer 7 questions in the questionnaire, and then a summary text which you also have to write. If we go to sorry, if we link it here, so the next slide here shows a link to the questionnaire, and this looks like this, similar to the first questionnaire, which I didn't show, but it's just as easy. And here you write your full name and your email, because we need to know who has made this, and then we do not demand that you write the case you have selected. That will be, we'll see that from your answers. So you just base this on the case you have chosen, your chosen cases, one of these, and there's 8 questions, but the 8th one is only, like you see here, it's summing up your IS case and just making for yourself almost it's summarizing what you have said in the earlier answers here. So when you're finished with this, you send it, and you are supposed to get a receipt on your email afterwards, and that goes for both of the questionnaires. You get the receipt. So this was really this took a little bit shorter time than I had planned. So we have much more time for questions now, if there are some at all. You should read the provided information on these cases closely, and then proceed to the questionnaire. You're not expected to search for additional sources or execute your own calculations. And slide 14 and 15 in the lecture repeats the questions, which is really only the ones you have in the questionnaire, so you don't need to have those slides before you. And you have the link in slide 30. So this module really, this topic in this module is really about 2 tasks. It is about fulfilling the 2 forms or the 2 questionnaires which is provided for you. So when you finish those 2 questionnaires, and I think you have a game, one game also in the MOOC, which looks like, I will find the MOOC here. Here, I have this MOOC there. So this is the course you have, and of course then you have the modules 1, 2, 3. This is the first page. So this is module 1, module 2, module 3, and then module 4. And we are here at the 4 and topic 1, operational challenges in industrial symbiosis. So this lecture, which I've just presented short now, is what is the content of the topic 1 in module 4. So fulfilling 2 questionnaires is really the main issues of that. And I just will wish you good luck with that and give you the some knowledge about real cases. That's, I think, is the most valuable element in this topic. And I invite for any kind of questions you might have for this topic, this module. or something else about the course if I'm able to answer you. Maybe there are no questions. And if you...
I have one,
yes,
if I can
please.
ask.
Yes.
Thank you, Sir Thomas, for the presentation. I just have a question. What is the last deadline for the all modules to do? A bit more different question.
Yeah, that's I'm not 100% sure, but I know that we have 5 modules. Each module is designated for 1 week, so it's 5 weeks. We are in the 4th week starting today at this Monday. So the expectation is that you are supposed to work with module 4 this week. That's just the ideal. But you were able to, I think, open this module even at the start of the course, and you were also able to work on this module the 5th week when you can work on parallel in module 4 and 5, for example. And then in the 6th week, it is the end exam, and that way you will find in the course system. So in the 6th week, also from 2 weeks from now, then you arrive in a week where you are supposed to have the end quiz, which has open questions, I think only now. And that, you might call it an end exam. That will also be the test, which will be the selection criteria for the knowledge camp we will have in Italy. And that is in week 6 plus 5, so the 11th week from the start. So that's how I count from the start of the course. That's how far as I can get. You will find the date and time, I think, for this in the 6th week for completing all the modules. You will find that in the course, but it's in week 6,
Okay.
which is the deadline. Yeah.
Thank you, Sir Thomas. Thank you.
Other questions of any sort? You will be helping other students if you have anything you wonder about, because there are lots of students which I'm sure would, and they don't have the possibility to ask anything because they will only see the recording. But maybe it was really clear. Who knows? But yeah, I will let it be just some seconds left. Is there no questions? I'll look at the chat. I don't see any. Yes.
Hello.
Please.
So if I understood it correctly, we have 14 days to finish this course to the end and finish the test, the last test.
That's my understanding also, and that is true for sure when it comes to the expected work weeks. I'm not sure when on Saturday, Sunday, Monday in 2 weeks you will be the deadline is, but you will find that in the course.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what you do, and
that's deadline.
That's a deadline for this. Yes, you have a deadline because we have a window for the end exam, which has to be. You have to also complete all the quizzes at the end of each module. This is what I've been talking about is only topic 1 in module 4. And then we have 5 modules, and it's between 4 and 5 topics in each module. And all modules have a quiz at the end of the module. And those end quizzes have to be completed before you are ready to go for the end exam. But the end exam is not opened before in week 6. And to complicate it a little bit more is that in this topic, you not only have to do the quiz, but you have to do the 2 questionnaires. You have to fulfill them and make it meaningful. The bar for acceptance is not very high, but it has to be meaningful and serious a try to give the best answers you have on this measure. If not, we will send a reminder that you need to fulfill this questionnaire, and I'm sure there's lots of students who will receive that. That will be sent in the start of next week, just after the end of the expected week you work on this.
Sir Thomas, may I explain some things in Slovenian language for my colleagues from Slovenia?
You might do that. Yes, yes.
Prijatelji iz Slovenije, profesor Dermol za nas posebej organizira srečanja samo za nas Slovence, tako da bomo vse tam lahko razčistili. I explained them that we have with Professor Dermol a special group just for Slovenians.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hvala.
Any other
Yeah,
question?
thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yep.
For the last questionnaire, that questionnaire contains 8 questions.
Yeah.
I found a PDF about Kalberg in the website.
Yep.
The case about Kalberg, and I think that's a very good fit for industrial symbiosis. Can we use that for the second questionnaire?
Yes. The second questionnaire is to be based on one of the 3 cases, and Kalberg is one of the 3 cases. Kalberg
Okay.
is the report you read there in the PDF. It's made by master students of a kind of high quality master students, and together with a professor, I think, and they just map what is the problems or the challenges for establishing a data center, which I think is quite general themes, which are generalizable for other countries as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other things? So I have time for other questions also. I thought it would last longer than it did. Maybe I was too quick in my reading or presentation, but this makes the recording shorter for people who listen to it. I'm sure they're gonna like that. But other questions? Anything? I should have a hammer or something. 1, 2, 3, and then I'll take that for a prize. So if not, I will just ask you good luck with this. And some of you I will see in Italy at the knowledge camp there. So have a nice week, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hvala.
Yeah,
Lado.
thank you.
Dio.